Me and Pac went in the studio and did a song together. And then them little dudes.
Outlaws.
Yeah.
Outlaws.
They came, like, as soon as we got there, they came up to Pac talking about, yo, Lauryn Hill dissed you, Mobb Deep dissed you.
It's true. Tupac, he really had an issue with Jay-Z. He really didn't like him then.
Not at all. I think that if Pac was alive, it would have been a whole different story. And as much money as Jay-Z has, he still hasn't accomplished what Tupac accomplished before he was at 25 years old.
Big Daddy Kane just dropped a bomb about Jay-Z and Tupac that nobody expected, and it's got people rethinking everything they thought they knew about hip-hop history. See, Kane wasn't just some bystander in Jay-Z's come-up. He was the man who opened the door, the one who gave Jay his first real shot. Jay used to be on stage with Kane, freestyling during his sets, hyping up the crowd while Kane switched outfits. That's how deep the connection ran. But once Jay's fame skyrocketed, something strange happened.
Hold up. Tupac is a lyricist. See what I'm saying? It's just that he's not one of those lyrical MCs that spit stuff, but his stuff is, he spit deep lyrics that touch your soul.
Kane's name started fading from the story. The industry moved on, and suddenly people forgot who helped shape one of the biggest rappers in the game. And here's where it gets even more wild.
Z, I heard that no one really wanted to sign him when you were shopping him around the record labels. Is that true?
Yeah. This was, I want to say, I don't know, 90, 91 maybe. We was, you know, we recorded some songs, probably about 4 or 5 songs on Jay-Z, and shopped them to several different record labels, and they all passed.
Kane's recent comments tie back to Tupac, because while Kane was helping Jay build his name in the East, Pac was out West shaking the table, calling out the fakes and the phonies, even taking shots at Jay for being what he called industry-made. So now the big question is, what exactly is Kane hinting at? Did Jay-Z just take inspiration from legends like Kane and Pac? Or did he straight up use their blueprint to build his own empire and then act like they never existed? That's the part fans can't stop debating.
I remember actually having a record deal through a production deal with someone else and recording, and then the next thing you know, someone else on the label blew up.
When Jay was still grinding in the early 90s, Big Daddy Kane didn't just give him advice. He took him on tour during the Chocolate City run. He gave Jay stage time to spit fire, backed his demo tapes, and even sent them to major labels himself. But according to Kane, it wasn't easy getting anyone to take Jay seriously. Labels weren't feeling his sound back then.
You got to go back to Brooklyn's Finest. I was dead set against it. I was telling Jay, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And he was like, why? And I was just like, he's too strong. I said, but before we take over the world, we got to take over the West Coast. Before we take over the West Coast, we got to take over the East Coast. Before we take over the East Coast, we got to take over New York. Before we take over New York, you got to take over Brooklyn. And he owns all that. And I was like, this is not a whack. So I was just like, I was in fear that I was like, yo, you may come off like this little man. You understand?
Still, Kane never gave up on him, saying he saw something special, something raw that just needed time to evolve. And he was right. Jay-Z did grow into a powerhouse.
Yeah, I think Pac was more upset that that word was getting back to him, that the people that did do this to him was affiliated one way or another with Biggie and him, whether they was extorting him or word got back that they was going to do this to Pac. So this is one of the reasons that Pac was.
But here's the twist. When Jay later told his come-up story in interviews and documentaries, that whole Big Daddy Kane chapter basically disappeared. No shout-outs, no real credit, just silence.
And what Big did, which I was like, that's why Pac was on Jay, because of Brooklyn's Finest. If they have twins, you probably have 2 Pacs. Get it? 2 Pacs. And Jay's on the record with him. So now he's like, you, ain't no like me, Jay-Z. Then he start bombing on Jay.
And now Kane's finally breaking it. In Jay-Z's memoir, Decoded, he does give Big Daddy Kane a little credit, saying he learned things like pacing and stagecraft from him. But that's it. No deep thank you, no heartfelt acknowledgement, just a quick mention like it was nothing. And Kane definitely noticed the silence. After everything he did for Jay, that kind of half-credit hit different.
And it's funny because before he performed the record, he was like, yo, no disrespect to the dead, but you just can't say whatever to me.
Oh, so he actually performed it after Pac passed.
Yeah. Yeah, we was at the Apollo. It was, I will say this, if you can find anybody who was at that show and the Apollo was packed, they will tell you that it was absolutely crazy, the things he was saying. I was like, Lord Jesus. Like when you know when you hear something, it's one thing, but then when you hear it performed, it's like, jeez. It was super tough.
Then came the line that got everybody talking. On Do It Again, put your hands up. Jay spits, I've seen the same ish happen to Kane 3 cuts in. Your eyebrows trying to wild out and fans lost it. Because everyone knows Big Daddy Kane made those 3 eyebrow slits his trademark look back in the day.
Story is that Jay was gonna try to perform in Vegas, but Pac was in Vegas and him and his dudes now. And they wasn't gonna let Jay-Z come out the hotel. They found out where Jay was at. And Jay wasn't gonna come out the hotel. He was gonna miss that performance or whatever like that. Do that concert, and Jay was scared of the motherfucker. Jay wasn't coming out that hotel until he got clearance.
It was his thing, a symbol of his slick, confident image that defined late 80s and early 90s hip-hop swagger. So when Jay dropped that bar in such a cold, cocky tone, people couldn't help but hear it as a shot, like he was clowning the man who helped him climb. By that point, Kane's commercial reign had cooled down, and younger rappers like Jay were taking center stage. That's why the line hit so hard.
Bro, you filled them shoes though. You came in and you know what I'm saying? So we definitely give thanks for you. You know what I'm saying? Because you definitely, came in and I just know how much Big like really looked up to Jay. You know what I'm saying? They looked up to each other. And yeah, that is crazy to have to step into the shoes of like 2 people, because that's all it was those 2 people, and they had like the game. They had things on lock. Hov was coming, you know what I'm saying? But like, it was like these 2 cats was just so big, you know what I'm saying? And then so it's like to have all of that, like, come on you and have that responsibility to keep this shit fly and keep the art of it going. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because I think Hov really kept Hov kept the art of it going and was able to take where they was at and take it, take it even higher.
It wasn't just a lyric, gave Jay a platform. Even radio host Angie Martinez chimed in, hinting on her show that it was a diss, which only made the rumors explode even more. Kane later played it off publicly, brushing it aside like it didn't bother him. But fans knew there had to be tension behind the scenes. And here's what makes it even more layered. Jay himself once admitted that he used to study Kane's every move backstage. He watched how Kane handled the mic, how he worked the crowd, even how he dressed. But once Jay built his own identity, that smooth hustler mafia-style persona, Kane faded quietly into the background. Jay became the face of the new era, while Kane became the blueprint that got left behind. But Kane wasn't the only one feeling the shift. Around that same time, Tupac was rising, loud, unapologetic, and already calling out the same fake industry moves that Kane was quietly experiencing. And it's starting to look like Pac saw this whole game for what it really was, way before anyone else did. Now Big Daddy Kane is hinting that Tupac saw the whole industry shift before anyone else did. He saw hip-hop changing from raw storytelling and soul into a cold chase for image, money, and power. And right in the middle of that change, one name started getting louder and louder. Jay-Z. See, back in the day, there were always whispers going around that Jay felt threatened by Tupac. Like he knew deep down, no matter how slick his rhymes were, he couldn't match Pac's fire. Jay had bars, no doubt, sharp wordplay, clever lines. But Pac had something different, that energy, that raw spirit, that you-can't-touch-me presence that made people stop whatever they were doing and listen. That kind of charisma can't be copied. And that's exactly what made Jay uncomfortable. Eventually, that silent tension turned into real beef. Right before Tupac's passing, Jay-Z and Pac were actually on opposite sides of one of the biggest feuds in rap history. And it all exploded when Jay teamed up with Biggie Smalls to take shots at the West Coast. Both Jay and Big were from Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. tight friends, and proud of their roots. And in 1996, they dropped Brooklyn's Finest, one of the standout tracks from Jay's Reasonable Doubt. But that track, it lit a fuse that couldn't be put out. Irv Gotti, who was close to Jay at the time, later said he warned him not to put Biggie on that record. He told Jay straight up, the East Coast versus West Coast beef was already wild, and dropping that collab could make things spiral out of control fast. But Jay went through with it anyway, and the track became a subtle middle finger to the entire West. And this is where things get dark. Pac and Biggie weren't enemies at first. They actually started out cool, even recording together before everything went sideways. But then came November 1994. Tupac got shot 5 times in the lobby of Quad Studios in New York, and Pac was convinced Biggie and Diddy knew the setup was coming, but didn't warn him. That betrayal burned deep, and from that moment, Pac wasn't letting anything slide. After that, the shots got personal. Pac and Big started going at each other publicly, line for line, interview for interview. And not long before Jay dropped Brooklyn's Finest, Biggie had released Who Shot Ya?, a track Pac took as a straight-up taunt. By then, the East Coast-West Coast battle was on fire, and Jay's decision to side with Big only made things even hotter. Irv Gotti tried to warn Jay-Z not to drop that track with Biggie. He told him plain and simple, this is not the time. The beef between the coasts was already explosive, but Jay didn't listen. He went ahead and released Brooklyn's Finest anyway. And that move made everything 10 times worse, because in his verse, Biggie came out swinging, throwing slick shots straight at Tupac. He called him his son, and dropped lines hinting at those wild rumors about Pac and Faith Evans. That right there was like tossing gasoline on a fire. Pac didn't stay quiet. He came for both of them with pure venom. He started calling out Jay-Z by name in tracks like Bomb First, My Second Reply, and Fall Friends. He wasn't just talking tough. He was sending a message to the whole East Coast that he wasn't scared of anybody. Fans were waiting for Jay to fire back with a full diss track, something that could stand toe-to-toe with Pac's heat. But then, before anything could drop, tragedy hit. Just weeks later, Tupac was fatally shot in Las Vegas. The world stopped, and so did the beef. Or at least that's what everyone thought. Because here's the twist. Jay actually did record a response track. It was called Scathing, and insiders say it was brutal. A full-on lyrical attack meant to shut Pac down completely. But Jay never released it while Pac was alive. Supposedly, he didn't want to make the tension worse or look like he was chasing clout off a man who was already fighting for his life in the streets. Not many people knew that part of the story until years later. But after Pac's passing, Jay performed that same track live at the Apollo. DJ Clark Kent was there, and he swears the song was wildly disrespectful. According to him, Jay wasn't just performing, he was venting years of built-up frustration, trying to prove that he was just as dangerous, just as respected, and just as powerful as Pac ever was. And that's where the conversation gets messy, because people started wondering why would Jay go that far after Pac was already gone. Some insiders say Jay actually felt relieved when Pac passed, like he could finally step into the spotlight without being compared to him every second. Gene Deal, Diddy's former bodyguard, even claimed that Jay once refused to leave his Las Vegas hotel room because he heard Pac and his crew were in town. That's how deep the fear ran. Fans today still call Jay sneaky for how he handled that whole situation. No direct diss, no open confrontation, just subliminal jabs and coded bars. Rappers from that era say Jay knew exactly what he was doing. He wanted to get under Pac's skin without ever stepping into a full battle, because deep down, Jay knew the truth. No matter how tight his flow was, he could never match the raw charisma Pac had naturally. Even Nas once dropped a bomb in an interview that made people look at Jay-Z a whole different way. He said Jay was bitter about Pac and Biggie's success, like he couldn't stand being in their shadow. According to Nas, when they were hanging out, Jay straight up told him that he was better than Biggie. Nas said he looked at him like, man, you're wildin'. But Jay didn't stop there. He doubled down and said Tupac and DMX weren't even lyricists. That's when Nas had to check him and tell him, Pac's the greatest ever, period. That moment said a lot about Jay's ego and how he really saw his peers. But that's not the only reason fans have called Jay a snake over the years. People have been side-eyeing his loyalty moves for decades, especially when it comes to Diddy. Even after all those rumors started swirling about Diddy being connected to Pac's homicide, Jay stayed close to him like nothing ever happened. And once both Pac and Biggie were gone, Diddy started hyping Jay up in interviews, saying he was the one who took their place, the new king of hip-hop. It was almost like a passing of the torch, but one that came with a dark cloud hanging over it. And here's where it gets even more twisted. Jay kept that friendship tight for years. He was right next to Diddy at parties, business deals, award shows, you name it. But when the 2023 Cassie lawsuit blew everything up and Diddy's image crashed overnight, Jay suddenly flipped the script. He started acting like they were never even close, like decades of photos and collabs didn't exist. Fans called it out immediately, saying Jay was just protecting his own image, jumping ship the second things got ugly. So what's the real takeaway here? Between Big Daddy Kane hinting at betrayal, Tupac's warnings about fake players, and Jay's silent moves behind the scenes, the picture is starting to look clearer than ever. Jay-Z didn't just rise to the top, he strategically climbed there, stepping over the same people who helped him get his first shine. And yeah, he's one of the most talented artists alive, but more and more industry insiders are whispering that Jay's empire was built on cold calculation, not loyalty. But now I want to hear what you think. Was Jay-Z just playing the game smarter than everyone else, or did he really cross the line by turning his back on the ones who made him? Did he betray Kane once he got famous? And what about that jealousy toward Tupac? You think that's real? Drop your thoughts below. Don't forget to like, comment, and share, and I'll catch you in the next one.